Hi everyone. This video is looking at when we talk about becoming who we need to be in order to, step into our purpose, to step into who we would like to be. I think that there are some aspects that we neglect to think about and that we are not necessarily reminded to think about. And one of those aspects relates to what it is that I'm going to need to give up in order to become or step into what I am called to be in this world. And so I thought that this is an important aspect of achieving our purpose, of living our purpose, that we are mostly oblivious to. And then when things start to, um, when our lives start to change, when our lives start to become challenging in our journey towards our calling, we don't understand it. We don't understand why people are leaving our lives, why relationships are changing, why the way we understood a person or the way we understood a certain context, like authority, for example, is changing. And I think it's important that we recognize that um, when we ask God to show us what His purpose is for us, what His purpose for having created us is, we need to take a step back and think about, yes, stepping into my purpose might mean or will mean expansion into new areas that I might not previously have been exposed to. But it also means that beliefs, attitudes, ways of being that do not serve the purpose that God has for me are going to need to fall away. And so I think when you think about bad habits like I drink too much, or I smoke too much, or I sleep too much, or I eat too much, you think, okay, I can see that those would need to go or they would need to change. But we don't think about much more ingrained, much more subtle um, restrictions and limitations that we have on ourselves that will need to be undone in order for us to step into our calling. So, for example, if we look at something like authority, our relationship to authority, we don't really understand, especially if you've had some kind of early traumatic experience relating to authority, whether it be through a parent, a teacher, some adult in your community, some early negative impression about authority that you might have received. We don't understand necessarily how that impression is perpetuated and reflected throughout our lives. It is reflected in how we engage with bosses, how we engage with our children's teachers or principals or coaches or the taxman or government. All of those authority relationships are influenced by that first negative or traumatic impression or experience that we might have had as it relates to authority. And so when we think about, okay, yes, dealing with authority is not necessarily an easy thing for everyone, but different people have different approaches. For some people, dealing with authority is not an issue. For other people, it's a huge deal. And when we look into where was my first engagement with authority, when was my first engagement with authority? And for most of us, that would be our parent-child relationship. And so if that was a positive, reinforcing, affirming experience, then you likely don't have a fear, you don't have any so-called issues associated with an authority relationship. But if that was a challenging situation, and maybe still is in your adulthood, it could be the root of whatever issues you are experiencing or have experienced with authority figures through your working or business life. And so for me, when I realized that, okay, my relationship with my parents have changed, and not necessarily in a bad way, but it's as if the layers are peeled back and you are able to see the person, you are able to see the relationship from a very new perspective with a lot more clarity and a lot more honesty. It's as if what we are taught to believe about a situation or a dynamic needs to be peeled away so that you can see with clear eyes and make clear, conscious decisions about how to engage, how to proceed. And so, in my situation, when I experienced that revelation about my relationship with my parents, I realized that this is an important unfolding that is happening in my life. And this is happening now because it's the way I see authority, the way I engage with authority, needs to change as a preparatory step for where God wants to take me, for how God wants me to show up. And so, even though it was challenging, once I had that awareness that this is not just happening for happening's sake, this relationship is being challenged, and God is calling me to a place of to a higher place, to engage in this relationship from a higher place, as opposed to I am the child, my parent is the authority, and therefore it's always a situation of me looking up to authority. But the changes that I experienced allowed me to see that simply because a person is give them dominion over me, dominion over my decisions, dominion over my situation. And so I could immediately see how the way I engage with my parents as symbols of authority was reflected in everything in my working life, the way I engage with bosses, the way I engage with potential clients. And I think it also revealed to me that it revealed to me the degree to which I had been making myself small. Yes, I was achieving, but I was not achieving to the extent that God now shows me is possible for me. And that relates to how I saw myself versus how I saw the importance of authority. And so when we are talking about becoming the person that God is calling you to be in whatever your next chapter is, just bear in mind that it can lead to some unveiling, some unraveling of dynamics, relationships, ways of perceiving. And when you see that unraveling happen, even though the normal tendency would be to panic, take a step back from the panic and ask yourself, why is this happening now? How does what is happening now relate to what I've been experiencing over the past few months or years? And how is it potentially going to benefit me if I engage with it from a place of deeper awareness as opposed to a place of panic because it looks like my life is falling apart? And so I realized that once we are able to take that step back and look at whatever the issue, the challenge is, from a place of deeper awareness, we are able to see, as I said, from a higher place, and we are able to engage with the challenging situation almost like it's that the situation is here in order to craft something in me, in order to mold something in me. So I found that when I have that realization, I'm able to engage with the situation much more constructively, much more openly, much more relaxed. Yes, it's still difficult, but I think it becomes infinitely less difficult when you engage from a place of deeper awareness and an understanding that this is happening for a reason. How can I go with what is happening? How can I engage with what is happening as opposed to fighting what is happening? So I thought it would be important to just share with you that in your becoming journey, there are, yes, things that you're going to need to step into, but also be aware that there are going to be things that you are needing to let go of. And they don't normally come with a notice. In 2 days' time, you're going to need to let go of whatever the issue is. You will just find yourself in the middle of a situation that feels like it's rocking your world. But my advice to you would be try to take a step back and ask yourself, why is this happening now? What is it trying to show me? Where is God trying to take me by placing me in this situation? And then when you engage with it from that deeper place of awareness, you will find the tension and the tightness of the situation loosening a bit. And then you are able to have the revelation that God intended for you to have in this situation. So I hope that this message serves you in your own journey, and please like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to chat with you soon. Thank you.